Magnetizing options. Magnetizing options. That is a project I have not undertaken for a long time. A very long time. Hey guys, Jay here. Welcome to Eons of Battle. Let's talk about magnets. Do magnets go on miniatures like peanut butter goes on an Oreo cookie, or is it more trouble than it's worth? I don't really know. I used to do a lot of magnetization back in the day, but recently I haven't been doing much of any. Usually I would just rather have a lot more models on the display shelves than just a couple of models and a little baggie of amputated arms. Also, some armies are easy to magnetize because they have big chunky joints like the Space Marines, and some are nearly impossible because their models are small and delicate like the Sisters of Battle and the Gene Stealer cults. But sometimes magnetization makes a lot of sense. Vehicles are a prime candidate for magnets because they are so big it makes it easy to hide stuff. Like these Goliath rock grinders, I have lots of magnets in here, all perfectly hidden. And I don't think I could bring myself to build Centurions and just glue them together. The kit is so expensive and has so many options that for me, it's worth it to get easy access to all options like the heavy bolters, las cannons, and close combat drills. And I think I found another perfect project to make use of the magnet. A Space Marine Death Watch kill team. Not only is this an army I've had my eye on for a while, but it is a perfect candidate to show you fine folks everything I know about magnetization. I've had these models sitting around forever and it's time to actually get them done. Yeah. I have my models, but what to do with them? Before I get started cutting out anything, I figure I ought to know exactly what I am doing. So I'm gonna put these sprues aside for just a moment and do a little bit of list building. It's really important to know what you're doing. Magnetization takes forever, and you don't wanna waste any time, so I broke out a piece of paper and got to work. A Deathwatch kill team is made up of 5 operatives: a Deathwatch vet sergeant, a vet warrior, a vet fighter, a vet gunner, and a vet heavy gunner. Then I listed out every weapon loadout that I thought I would like to take in games. This way I know what I will need and I can catch any duplicates that would be redundant. I don't want to put in the work of building 2 plasma guns if I can only have it on one guy at a time. I carefully read through the rules and picked out all the weapons that applied. I am not doing everything, as some options are just better than others, and some don't fit my playstyle. I really like list building in Kill Team 21, and I feel like it lends itself a lot more to having all the magnetized options. Back in the previous edition of Kill Team, it was based on a points limit, and that usually meant that you never wanted to spend big points to get the big, cool, awesome weapons. It was always usually more beneficial to spend all of your points to give as many models as you could the most medium weapon. That was usually the best strategy. But now, in Kill Team 21, because you just pick things off of a list, it is perfectly fine to have everything available to you and you just pick whatever you want. Try things out. It's all on the table. And that, I think, is really cool. Now that I had all my weapons in front of me, I highlighted all the weapons that are two-handed with yellow and the one-handed weapons with orange. Just a little more bookkeeping so that I don't have to think about anything other than putting magnets in arms down the road. Alright, I think I've got this all figured out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 weapons spread across 5 guys. I think that these guys are a prime candidate for magnetization. Now that I know exactly what I'm doing, I can now move on to putting them together. And it's super important that I did this because now I've discovered that one of the guys I can just glue together. No magnetization needed. I began clipping out my dudes. I always use my nippers a little bit away from the model so that it's not a flush cut. I get that perfect flush job later when I use my hobby knife. I like to grab everything I need and make myself little piles of dudes so that I don't have to keep returning to the sprue over and over. Next up was cleaning. I take my knife out and cut straight towards my fingers. No, this is not dangerous. I actually don't put any force behind the hand holding the knife, and instead I push the knife blade with my thumb that is holding the model. This gives me lots of control and is how I find hobby knives comfortable and safe to use. To clean my mold lines, I like to make many small, soft scrapes. I find that this works out better for me than a couple long, hard scrapes. Then I wipe away the crumbs and check if I did a good enough job or if I have more work to do. I go back and forth on whether I like building models or if I think it's annoying. Sometimes I'm in the mood for painting only, and I think building is just a frustrating speed bump. And sometimes I have no interest in painting and I just want to sit and scrape mold lines while watching Seinfeld. To glue plastic models together, I have two of the same glues, Tamiya Extra Thin Cement and Tamiya Extra Thick Cement. I like to use extra thin on areas like this torso where the fit is perfect and every piece of part A is in contact with part B. Contact is the most important thing when using plastic glue. On areas like these legs where the fit is not quite as good, that's when I break out the extra thick. The melted sprue inside the thick cement adds in more surface area and improves the quality of the bond. Tamiya Extra Thick Cement is just thin with about 2 or 3 inches of sprue thrown in and allowed to dissolve. I also decided to scrape off the Imperialis from the torso of these models. I want to add in my own Deathwatch decorations, none of this common loyalist garbage. The Deathwatch are the cool kids who get all the best stuff. I just finished cleaning up all of the armors. I actually found some Reaver bodies that I've decided to throw into the mix. The Deathwatch are the Tacticool chapter, so I think having a few different armor loadouts is going to look really, really cool. And now all I have to do is throw these up on some handles and then clean and prep the 18 weapon loadouts. I prepared my favorite paint handles, little 1-inch cubes of wood with some 3M 3/4-inch double stick foam tape and stuck them together. Then came the very satisfying peeling of the plastic tape preserver and then my sticky holder downers were ready for some models. I stuck on my fellas. I really like these. The size is very comfortable for my hands and the tape is surprisingly strong and doesn't leave any residue. It is truly the perfect product for holding down models. I looked back at my paperwork to find out what parts I needed and then I got out my sprues and hunted down those weapons. I found what I needed, clipped them out, cleaned them, and prepared them for the laborious process of putting magnets in them. Magnets might be a bit challenging, but you know what is easy? That's right, subscribing to our Patreon. Over there we have lots of high quality terrain STLs available and it is the best way to support us making videos. In addition to great grimdark terrain, you will also gain access to one exclusive video a week, some behind the scenes, voting what models I paint live here on YouTube, a live hobby hangouts every week, and more. Another great way to support us is by checking out our merch. You can follow the link in the description below to our shirts and sweatshirts with some fun hobby-related designs. Now with that said, let's get ready to magnet! Magnetization can be a tricky process, especially on small infantry models, because there's just not a lot of room to work with. Now you might think that the best option would be to cut the model at the wrist and then hide your magnet there. And that definitely seems like the most practical solution, but let me explain why that might not be the best solution. When magnetizing minis, dynamic cool poses can be something that has to be sacrificed in the name of modularity. If I put the magnet here at the wrist, I am committing to a straight forearm pose with all his left-handed options. More convenient and more modular, but looks less good in my opinion. If I glue the gun and arms and shoulders all together, then I get the cool pose I want. But I have more painting to do on the back end. It's more work, but it's how I want to tackle this project. As you can see, I can get some really good dynamic poses if I incorporate the arms and shoulders into the weapons. Much better than just a wrist swap. Here's an example of a wrist magnet job, and it works. It's a little bit floppy, it looks alright with a gun, but it doesn't make for the most impressive sword pose. It's just not the perfect thing for this mini, but that's not always the rule. This tactical marine has a great two-handed grip on the gun, and this makes for a really good wrist magnet job, as his left hand keeps the gun straight and secure. You have to really think about what you want and how you can achieve it to get best results. So I have my plan of attack, and I know exactly how I want to install my magnets, so now let me introduce you to my favorite magnet. Sizes. I use 3 sizes of magnets for 99% of my magnetization projects. I use these tiny little 1.5mm by 1.5mm disc magnets for tiny little things like wrists, heads, and props. These are good enough, but I like to use bigger magnets when I can. For larger connections, I like these 3mm by 1.5mm disc magnets. These are what I use probably 80% of the time. They have a good strong hold and don't let in a lot of wiggle. And for big things like vehicle weapons, I like these big chunker 6mm by 1.5mm magnets. These could hold your minis up on the fridge. To sync my magnets, I started by making myself a pilot hole by poking my hobby knife right in the middle and giving it a twist. Quick tip, this is also a good way to drill gun barrels. Then I broke out a drill bit that is the exact same diameter as my magnets. For these guys, 3mm will do the job right. I used my hand drill for this. I don't like drilling into models with a Dremel or power drill. It's just too much oomph. I feel like I'm not in control of the drilling. Then I took out my magnets. I always worry a lot about messing up the polarity because it is a project or sometimes impossible to get that magnet back out and try again. So I like to take all the magnets that I'll be using and mark one side so that I can tell at a glance what is what. I put a drop of super glue into the hole and then slid in my magnets, holding onto them as a stack. And then once I felt the glue begin to hold, I slid the stack away, leaving behind one magnet that I poked into position. Then I just repeated the process until they were all magnetized. To keep things simple, I did all the magnets the same polarity. Nothing different with the right and left arms, they are all the same. Magnetizing is the same process for the arms, but a little trickier as there is less to hold onto. I started by making a pilot hole with my hobby knife to help keep my drill bit on target. The drill is going to want to follow the path of least resistance, so it's important to go very, very slow. You don't want the drill bit to grab onto the model and start tearing out plastic. You basically want to slowly shave down a hole. The waste plastic made from drilling shouldn't look like a small plastic spring, but instead should look like dust. And if you find your drill bit wants to wander, you can stop and fix the hole with your hobby knife, smoothing it out so that the drill can continue to cut right where you want it. Another reason to drill slowly is that you are relying on finger pinch strength to hold the part, and if your drill bit is biting too hard, the model will slip from your grasp. Now for the magnets, I am super paranoid, so I stick the magnet onto the torso so I know 100% it's in the proper orientation. Then I put a dollop of super glue into my armhole, and then I squish it onto the magnet, then quickly slide them apart. I poked it into position and let it dry. I find that doing it this way gives me the best chance of getting a good flush connection versus just inserting a magnet straight into the arm. I have my torsos magnetized, and I am working on getting the arms magnetized up. Now it's time to finish building some of the last weapon options, and for these I am worried that the connection will be too weak with just a super glue or plastic glue bond. I want to glue this big ol' gun to his little ol' wrist, so I think pinning is in order. I took some metal rod and a drill bit the exact same size and began drilling holes in the same spot on the wrist and the gun. Then I inserted my rod and clipped it at around 1/4 inch or less of stick out. Then I stuck on the plasma gun, and now I have a super strong connection with no danger of snapping no matter how rough I am with my models. While I was working, I kept close track of my original paperwork, and as I knocked out my weapon options, I added them to the list. This helped me stay on track and not accidentally overbuild on any of the options. Whew, that took a while. It takes a long time to get the models as modular as I wanted them to be, but also look as good as I wanted them to be. But now all 18 options are done and built. So now comes the fun part, decorating them. Space Marines are the best of the best of the best, and the Death Watch veterans are the best of the best of the best of the best. They're gonna have a lot of bits. For the heads, I decided bear heads. I need the practice in painting naked heads, and I think it'll make my Death Watch veteran stand out. On the chests, I plastic glued some grenades from the Space Marine Infiltrators kit that I had lying around. Who says primaries have to be boring? I put holstered bolt pistols on all the legs, and don't these look suspiciously like las pistols? Perhaps a holdover from Rogue Trader. I found lots of great little dangly bits that I sprinkled here and there. These are trophies of my warrior's many, many great deeds. On the heavy gunner, I decided to give him a big old knife with an easy reach. And of course, how can I forget about the backpacks? Space Marines can't leave home without them. With all the decorations on there, oh yeah. These might be the finest Space Marines I have ever made. My models are done being built, and now allow me to let you in on my plan of attack for the different magnetized options for these kill team operatives. I suppose you would call this loadout the take-all-comers list. It has a good balance of Death Watch bolt guns versus special weapons on the close combat fighters and the frag cannon on the heavy. But really, there is no such thing as a true take-all-comers list, especially in Kill Team. Next up, the Bolter Spam. This loadout maximizes the potential number of shots with the special issue ammunition, with every guy in the squad having a bolt gun. And the Sergeant will get 2-ups to hit on his bolt gun and can get 1 shot off with his combi plasma once a game to delete tougher targets. And last but not least, maximum damage. With this loadout, I have the most possible high damage weapons in the Xenophase Blade on the Sergeant, Plasma Gun Guy on the Veteran Gunner, and Frag Cannon on the Heavy. I can't wait to slice up Marine equivalents with this team. But that is my Death Watch kill team. I had a great time building these guys, and I can't wait to see what they do in game. I think having all those options is gonna make them play really, really well. But now I need your help. I need some names. I have a sergeant, a warrior, a fighter, a gunner, and a heavy gunner, and they all need names. So please, in the comments below, give me some name suggestions. Bye.